Most of us believe that success comes from massive action, but the truth is usually the opposite. Real success is built quietly through the small choices we make every single day. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, explains how little improvements, when repeated consistently, compound into results that look extraordinary over time. Think about it for a moment. If you can get just 1% better today, and then 1% better tomorrow, you will not just be slightly improved. By the end of a year, the math of compounding makes you 37 times better. A change so huge that it feels almost unbelievable at first. This idea shows why some people seem to move ahead with ease, while others stay stuck despite their hard work and big goals. The difference is rarely about talent, intelligence, or motivation. It's about building habits that move you forward in small but steady steps. Habits work silently in the background, shaping your identity and your future, long before you notice any visible results. If you decide to read for 10 minutes a day, it doesn't feel like a breakthrough at first. But 1 year later, you've finished several books that may completely shift your mindset. If you choose healthier food today, it won't change your body overnight. But repeat that decision for months, and you'll see the difference in your health and energy. This is the beauty and the danger of habits, because bad habits also compound in the same way. Skipping one workout feels harmless. Scrolling too long feels like nothing. But repeated over weeks and months, these choices quietly build a lifestyle you regret. That's why focusing on small, consistent actions is so powerful, because waiting for big moments of motivation almost never works in the long run. We all love the idea of sudden transformation, but the truth is that real change is often invisible at the start. It feels slow, it feels ordinary, and it feels like nothing is happening, until one day the progress becomes too big to ignore. Just like bamboo that spends years developing roots underground before suddenly shooting up into the sky in a short period of time. This is how growth really happens. It looks slow, then it feels sudden, and finally, it becomes unstoppable because of the foundation already built. So the question is not how to change your entire life overnight. The question is, what small habit can you start repeating today? Because success is not built on one dramatic decision or one lucky break. It is built on the little actions you repeat so often that they become a part of who you are. And that is the central promise of Atomic Habits. Small and easy to start, but capable of transforming your entire future if you stay consistent. When we think about changing our lives, most of us start with goals. We say things like, I want to lose weight, or I want to save more money. Goals sound inspiring in the beginning and they give us direction, but they are not enough to actually change our behavior for the long run. James Clear makes a simple but powerful point in Atomic Habits. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. In other words, your goals are about the results you want to achieve, but your systems are about the processes that lead you there every single day. If your goal is to run a marathon, it doesn't matter how much you dream about it. What matters is whether you have a system of running a little bit every day. If your goal is to write a book, the dream won't make it happen. But the system of writing a single page each day will get you there eventually. This is where most people go wrong, because they focus only on outcomes and then get frustrated when the results don't come quickly. They diet for a week and see no change. They save money for a month and it feels too slow. They go to the gym a few times and quit because results are invisible. But if you focus on building the system instead of chasing the goal, you don't depend on willpower or motivation every day. You simply follow the process, and the process takes care of the results. Just like watering a plant consistently makes it grow without forcing it. Clear explains that habits shape your identity, and your identity in turn reinforces your habits in a continuous loop. For example, instead of saying, "I want to quit smoking," say, "I am not a smoker." This shift turns the habit into part of your identity, because every time you act, you are voting for the type of person you want to become. If you exercise regularly, you are casting votes for being a healthy person. If you write every morning, you are casting votes for being a writer. Each small habit may look meaningless, but together they create the story you believe about yourself. That's why identity-based habits are so powerful, because they don't just change what you do, they change who you are. The opposite is also true. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm bad with money," or "I can never stay consistent," you reinforce that identity, and your habits align with that belief. So instead of focusing only on what you want to achieve, start focusing on who you want to become. Ask yourself, what kind of person would achieve these results? And then start building the small daily habits that match that identity. Because in the end, goals set your direction, but systems and identity are what keep you moving forward, even when motivation fades away. This is the shift that makes habits truly atomic. Small actions that are deeply connected to the person you wish to become. Now that we know why small habits matter, the next step is learning how to build them into our lives. James Clear explains this with the 4 laws of behavior change, a framework that makes good habits easier and bad ones harder. The first law is to make it obvious. We often rely only on motivation, but habits grow stronger when your environment gives you visible cues. If you want to exercise, keep your shoes where you can see them. If you want to eat healthy, put fruit on the counter instead of chips. Your surroundings shape your actions more than your willpower. So when the cue is obvious, the habit is easier to start. The second law is to make it attractive. Our brains chase what feels rewarding, so pair your habit with something you enjoy. Watch your favorite show only while on the treadmill, and suddenly the workout feels less like punishment. The third law is to make it easy. Lasting habits are simple and friction-free, not complicated. If you want to read more, keep a book near your bed instead of your phone. If you want to practice a skill, reduce the steps it takes to begin. Clear suggests the 2-minute rule, which means every habit should be scaled down to 2 minutes or less. Instead of "I'll run 5 kilometers," it's say "I'll put on my running shoes." Starting small creates momentum that carries you forward. The fourth law is to make it satisfying. A habit that feels rewarding is more likely to stick, because your brain wants immediate feedback. That's why tracking habits or crossing them off on a calendar works so well. The small sense of progress keeps you motivated. Together, these 4 laws create an environment where good habits stick because they are obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And the reverse works for bad habits. Make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. If you want to spend less time on your phone, delete distracting apps or leave the phone in another room. If you want to avoid junk food, don't keep it at home, because resisting is easier when the temptation isn't near you. By inverting the four laws, you naturally move away from harmful habits and closer to behaviors that support your growth. Habits are not about endless self-control. They are about designing your life in a smarter way. When you use these laws, habits no longer feel like a struggle. They become part of who you are and what you do every day. This is why James Clear calls them atomic, because even though they are small, they create explosive results when compounded over time. One of the most frustrating things about building habits is that progress often feels invisible in the beginning. You go to the gym for weeks and see no big change. You save money for months and the account still feels small. You practice a skill and wonder if you are improving at all. This stage is what James Clear calls the plateau of latent potential, a quiet phase where effort piles up behind the scenes before results appear. Think of ice in a room. The temperature rises from 25 to 26 to 27 degrees, yet the ice block doesn't melt. You might think your effort is useless, but the truth is every degree is building toward the breakthrough. At 32 degrees, the ice finally begins to melt, and suddenly people only notice the visible change, forgetting that the hidden work made it possible. Habits work exactly the same way. You may not see progress for a long time, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Change is taking place below the surface, just waiting for the tipping point to reveal itself. This is why patience matters so much in habit building. Most people quit right before the breakthrough, not realizing how close they are to results. Think of a bamboo plant. It spends years growing roots underground, and then in one season shoots up several feet almost overnight. The growth was never sudden. It was simply hidden until the right moment. Habits are like compound interest for self-improvement. Their true power is visible only after consistent investment. Just like money multiplies through compounding, your small daily actions multiply through time. Good habits compound into knowledge, health, and confidence. Bad habits compound into stress, weakness, and regret. The question then is not whether habits work. The question is whether they are working for you or against you. Skipping one workout feels harmless today, but repeated for months it builds a future of low energy. Reading 10 minutes feels small, but repeated daily, it builds a future of wisdom and opportunity. This is why James Clear emphasizes trusting the process, because results are often delayed but never denied. Success is rarely about one big push. It is about showing up day after day until the system rewards you. The plateau of latent potential is where most people give up. But if you keep going, the curve eventually bends upward sharply. That sharp rise is what others call overnight success, when in reality it was built on years of invisible progress. So if you are working on a habit and feel nothing is changing, remember the ice cube, remember the bamboo, and trust that your effort is compounding quietly every single day. Because the truth is, consistency beats intensity, and small actions, when repeated long enough, always pay off. One of the most practical strategies James Clear shares in Atomic Habits is called habit stacking, a simple way to link a new habit with one you already do. The idea is based on something known as an implementation intention, which means creating a clear plan for when and where you'll perform a habit. Instead of saying, "I will start meditating," you say, "After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will meditate for 2 minutes." This approach connects the new behavior to an existing routine. And because the old habit is already strong, it acts as a trigger for the new one. For example, after pouring your morning coffee, you might write one sentence in your journal. After taking off your shoes when you get home, you could immediately do 10 push-ups. These simple formulas anchor your habits to daily actions, making them automatic instead of something you need to remember. The key is clarity. Most people fail at building habits because their plans are vague. But when you know exactly when and where, the chances of success rise. Alongside habit stacking comes another powerful idea: environment design. We often underestimate how much our surroundings influence our behavior. If your workspace is cluttered, focus becomes harder. If unhealthy snacks are always around, self-control weakens. Clear suggests shaping your environment to make good habits obvious, and bad habits harder to do. If you want to practice guitar more often, keep it in the middle of your room instead of in the closet. If you want to stop watching so much TV, remove the batteries from the remote or move the television out of sight. By adjusting your environment, you reduce friction for positive habits and increase friction for negative ones. This works because willpower is often unreliable, but the environment nudges you in the right direction without effort. Imagine trying to eat healthy while your fridge is filled with soda and desserts. It feels like a constant battle. Now imagine a fridge filled with vegetables, fruit, and water bottles. Suddenly, the healthier choice becomes the easiest one. Environment design is like building invisible systems around you, systems that quietly shape your behavior every day. When you combine habit stacking with environment design, habits stop being something you fight for and start becoming something natural. Over time, these small changes create momentum, and momentum builds identity, until the habits feel like an effortless part of who you are. This is why Clear emphasizes you don't have to be disciplined all the time. You just need to be smart once and design your environment well. Because in the end, success is not about forcing yourself daily. It's about making the right actions easy and the wrong actions difficult. And once your environment starts working for you instead of against you, habits grow naturally without feeling like a constant struggle. The final lesson of Atomic Habits is that true change is not about a single big action, but about the small steps that reshape your identity over time. Clear reminds us that habits are not just about achieving external goals, they are about becoming a certain type of person. When you focus only on results, you may succeed temporarily, but the change often fades. But when you focus on identity, who you want to become, the change becomes permanent because it aligns with your self-image. For example, instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," say, "I am a runner." Instead of saying, "I want to quit smoking," say, "I'm not a smoker." This shift in language and mindset is powerful, because every small action becomes a vote for your chosen identity. Each time you practice your guitar for 5 minutes, you are becoming a musician. Each time you write one paragraph, You are becoming a writer. Each time you exercise, you are becoming an athlete. The focus moves from outcomes you chase to the person you are becoming every day. Clear explains that success is like compound interest. Just as money grows little by little when invested regularly, habits also grow little by little when repeated consistently. In the short term, the difference may seem invisible, but in the long term, it becomes undeniable. This is why he emphasizes patience. We must resist the urge for instant results and trust the process of slow, steady improvement. Every habit is like planting a seed. You don't see the tree immediately, but with time, the roots grow deep and the plant becomes strong. Failure also teaches us something important. Missing one day doesn't ruin everything, but missing many days in a row starts breaking the chain. Clear advises a simple rule. Never miss twice. If you miss one workout, get back to it the next day. If you eat junk food once, return to healthy eating at the very next meal. This approach keeps momentum alive and prevents guilt from turning into a complete breakdown. In the end, the power of atomic habits lies in their simplicity. You don't need extreme motivation. You don't need to rely on huge discipline. You just need small, consistent actions that align with your identity. And slowly, the small things you repeat become the big things that define your future. Clear's message is hopeful. Anyone can change, no matter how stuck they feel, as long as they start small, stay consistent, and let identity guide the journey. Because in life, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And if your systems are built on strong, positive habits, your growth becomes inevitable. So the real question is not what do you want to achieve, but who do you want to become? When you answer that honestly and let your habits reflect it, you begin the journey of true transformation.